Yo, what is up, guys? It is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, back in today with another fantasy football video. Today's video is Week 5 tight ends start or sit decisions. Are you going to start this tight end? Are you going to sit them? Now, before I get in the video, I'd like to give you guys a word from my sponsor, OverlayDFS.com, and they now have a fancy app to go on your phone. Link down below in the description about how to use that. Boom. Tired of having to pick the perfect player at every single position in order to win at salary cap DFS? Are you tired of having your salary cap lineup out of the running to win money in the first 5 minutes? Does playing salary cap DFS feel like a job and not even a game? Want a fantasy game where pros with 150 lineups and computer generated games can't dominate? OverlayDFS.com has a new revolutionary start-sit game for fantasy sports. They are the home of the single-entry GPP. How do you play? It is a simple start-sit format. Make 12 start-sit decisions from the 30-plus matchup presented, like you can see on my screen right now. A winner, win, loss, or tie will be awarded to your overall record for each decision. Records of the top 10% of users win 9 times your buy-in. 12-0 records win GTD progressive bonus. All matchups are player versus player. Who will have the most fantasy points? Usually, an 8-4 record is good enough to get that cash. Sometimes 7-5, other times 9-3, depending on the week. Make 12 picks on the matchup options listed. For example, in Week 5, it could be Cooper Kupp versus Todd Gurley, Adam Thielen versus Stephon Diggs, Carson Wentz versus Tom Brady, and many, many more. The object is to stay consistent and finish in the top 10% of the field to win 9 times your buy-in until the stars align and you go that beautiful 12-0. Right now, if you go the perfect 12-0 in the $109 game, you'd win the progressive bonus of over 26 big ones, $26,000. They have buy-ins at all levels. If no one hits that perfect 12-0, the progressive bonus keeps growing and will roll over until it gets hit. It's like the super contest, but for DFS. Do not get shut out. Visit www.overlaydfs.com today. And we are Week 5 tight end start or sit decisions. First game to talk about here is the Thursday night football game. As you're watching this video, going on tonight, potentially, unless you're watching it, obviously, after the game already happened. Rams at Seahawks. So this, for me, very easy. We are going to be starting Will Dissly. You picked up Will Dissly off the waiver wire. You've seen him. You've played him. He's looked great. It seems like Russell Wilson really loves targeting him in the red zone. Seems like Will Dissly is a solid option pretty much every single week, and the Rams defense last week got eviscerated by famous Jameis. I think Will Dissly could certainly find his way into that end zone. Again, we're going to be sitting down all the Rams tight ends, Gerald Everett, Higbee, all those guys. Don't really want to start any of them this week. Next game to speak about here is the Jets at the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's pretty obvious here we're going to be starting Mr. Zachary Ertz. Zach Ertz has looked pretty he hasn't done anything really too special, but I think this week against the Jets, against a poor Jets team, I think that the Eagles get up, then they keep racking up them points, racks on racks on racks, and Zach Ertz potentially could hop in the end zone this week. I like this matchup against the Jets. And we're going to be sitting down Ryan Griffin of the Jets. Obviously, you don't want anything to do with that. And then Dallas Goedert of the Eagles, unless Zach Ertz gets hurt or it's like the juiciest matchup alive. I don't want to start Dallas Goedert. Next game to talk about here is the Jaguars at the Carolina Panthers. We're going to be starting up G-Reg, third leg Olsen this week against the Jaguars defense. I think Greg Olsen is pretty much an every week starter unless he's playing up against a stacked defense. I really like Greg Olsen. It seems like Kyle Allen, whether it's Kyle Allen or Cam Newton, obviously it's Kyle Allen, Greg Olsen will get that work. And we're going to be sitting Mr. James O'Shaughnessy. Now, someone in the comment section brought up how his name may end up being James O'Shag Hennessy, I believe. That could be his name potentially if he pops off again this week against the Panthers. We saw him score last week. I didn't really see that coming. This week against the Panthers, I don't really see that happening. Again, if he ends up hopping in the end zone, he may end up being that guy that you potentially pick up off the waiver wire, but right now, he's certainly a sit for me. Next game to talk about here is the Vikings at the New York Football Giants. So we're going to be starting up Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram didn't have the best week last week, but obviously he's got Daniel Jones. The Vikings defense is pretty good, but Evan Ingram seems to be getting those targets from Daniel Jones. He seems to be a target that is loved by Danny Dimes. I think Evan Ingram is going to be able to have a solid game against the Vikings this week. And we're just going to sit Kyle Rudolph. Kirk Cousins looks terrible. Looks like he just walked into Minnesota and stole the money of all the good people in Minnesota. It seems like Kirk Cousins can't get it done. It seems like Kyle Rudolph is just fucked because he doesn't have a quarterback that can see correctly. Next game to talk about here is the Falcons at the Houston Texans. Where are we starting? Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper has become an every week start. You drafted him late. He has paid completely, even way more than you thought that he would. He has been scoring touchdowns. He seems like he's Matt Ryan's favorite target aside from Julio Jones. It seems like Matt Ryan has given up on Calvin Ridley and just loves. He has a new love affair for Austin Hooper, especially in the red zone. Austin Hooper looks great this week against the Houston Texans. So we're going to be seeing down all the Houston Texans tight ends. I know some people are in shit situations and they're starting one of those Texans tight ends. I just would not advise it this week against the Falcons. Next game to talk about here is the Buccaneers at the Saints. We're going to be starting, and by starting, I mean sitting. We're sitting all the tight ends in this game. Jared Cook has yet to perform. Drop his sorry ass. Get him off your team. He pisses me off. He has not, without Drew Brees, I'm nowhere near confident with him. Drew Brees won't be back for a bit of time. O.J. Howard hasn't really been able to get it done. I know we saw him get some targets, but I still don't love him. I don't know if he'll even be able to hop in the end zone this week. Cameron Brate, same thing. Not really trying to start him this week against the Saints. Next game to bring up here is the Bills at the Titans, which looks like it could be much of a defensive battle, but I am willing to start both of these guys in this matchup. Mr. Dawson Knox one time, if you're with me, is going to be pretty fucking good this week against the Titans. We saw it last week. We see that his usage is going all the way up to the tippity top. Dawson Knox seems like he's going to be getting a lot of snaps. Now, it is Matt Barkley, not Josh Allen, so that is a bit of a concern. But I think that Dawson Knox will get enough passes thrown his way that I think he could be a productive tight end this week against the Titans. Delaney Walker on the Titans may end up needing a walker by the end of the season because the man is so goddamn old. But with that being said, he has been productive in fantasy thus far, and I think against the Bills, he may be able to have an okay game this week. But that'll warrant a start because a lot of the tight ends just suck, if you haven't noticed. Next game to talk about here is the Cardinals at the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm willing to start Tyler Eifert in this game. I have yet to call him a start, I believe, this season. But what I do think is that against the Cardinals defense, that is terrible. Against the Cardinals defense that allows a lot of fantasy points to the tight end, I think Tyler Eifert could have a productive game against them. Andy Dalton has looked terrible. He looked terrible against the Steelers. The Cardinals defense is fucking garbage, so I think that Tyler Eifert will be able to get it done. Andy Dalton will be able to find him, potentially even in the end zone. And we're going to be sitting C.J. Uzomah. Mr. C.J. Uzomah has not been, him and Eifert are kind of taken away from each other because it's like a 60-40 split, 70-30 split. I just don't want anything to do with C.J. Uzomah, and we're going to be sitting down all the other Cardinals tight ends. Next game to talk about here is the Patriots at the Redskins. We're going to be seeing down all the Patriots tight ends. I know Big Ben Watson is coming back. People are going to jump the gun, and try to start him this week against the Redskins, even in a positive matchup. I don't love that. He's coming off that suspension, not being able to practice with the team, this, that, and the other thing. I don't love it. Sit all the Patriots tight ends. We're also going to be seeing down Mr. Vernon Davis. Now, Jordan Reed may end up just being permanently in the hospital or something because it doesn't seem like Jordan Reed is coming back, but Vernon Davis is going to get locked up, clamped by the Patriots defense. The Patriots defense has played out of this world. I don't think Vernon Davis is going to have any success in this game against the Patriots. Now, the next game here is the Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we are going to be starting Mr. Mark Andrews in this game. Mark Andrews had a poor performance week 3, but week 1, week 2, and week 4, he performed. The Steelers defense did look good against the Bengals, but then again, they're the Bengals. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson, going to be good this game. I am comfortable starting Mr. Mark Andrews in this game. He seems like he could be a potential top 5 tight end this week. The rankings video will come later in the week. Next, got to talk sits in this game. Both the Steelers tight ends. Nick Vannett, he just got traded to the team last week. Didn't seem to get all that much usage last week. I still think that it may take some time for him to learn the playbook, so I'm not in on Nick Vannett this week. But Vance McDonald likely going to be out, not in on him either. Now we got the Bears at the Raiders. So you guys have made it pretty much near the end of the video. So make sure if you have enjoyed into this point, make sure to click that subscribe button. So Bears at Raiders. We're going to be starting Darren Waller. Darren Waller is an every single week start, even against a tough Bears defense. I think that Derek Carr will be able to throw the ball his way enough times for him to be worthy of a start. Now Darren Waller is a guy that's out there on pretty much every single play. He's a guy that Derek Carr clearly likes to target. And I'm going to be sending down Trey Burton. Trey Burton is not a guy that I want to start at all. Dawson Knox one time if you're with me. Far better of a start this week than Mr. Trey Burton. Next game to talk about here is the Broncos at the LA Superchargers. And I'm sitting all the tight ends in this game. Virgil Green and the Chargers tight ends, put them on the bench. Noah Fant against the Chargers. I know the Chargers have been not the best at guarding defending against the tight end, but I don't love Noah Fant this week. Don't really love Noah Fant any week because I can't believe in Joe Flacco throwing the ball his way. Cortland Sutton, clearly he can throw the ball to. Emmanuel Sanders, clearly he can throw the ball to. But besides that, I'm not too confident in Mr. Noah Fant this week. Next game to speak about here is the Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm starting both tight ends in this matchup. Jimmy Graham, week 1, phenomenal. Week 2, week 3, week one he was good. Week 2, week 3, silent. Week 4, good again. Jimmy Graham is a touchdown dependent tight end. The Cowboys may be able to allow him to shimmy his way down into the end zone. They are without Devontae Adams. I think Jimmy Graham is going to see an increased workload this week against the Cowboys, which makes him a start. Jason Witten, on the other hand, also a touchdown dependent guy. He walks like a robot. He walks super slow. If he's able to find the end zone, he's going to be worth a start, but I think he does see enough targets. Michael Gallup likely still. Some people think he's going to play. I think he's likely going to be out. I think that it's going to be the Amari Cooper, Jason Witten show, and we're going to see some decent work from Jason Witten, just like we saw last week. Next game to talk about here, the Sunday night football game. Colts at Chiefs should be a good game. We're going to be starting both the top tight ends in this matchup. Travis Kelce, obviously a start every single week for the Chiefs. You drafted him highly. You drafted him as the number 1 tight end. He will likely finish in a pretty high-scoring matchup this week as the tight end 1. Eric Ebron, on the other hand, playing in the same high-scoring matchup, I think he's definitely worth a start. Jack Doyle got laid out last week. I don't even know why people say that he's going to play. Maybe he is going to play. Maybe he's some type of a god and his head is still attached to him, but he looked to be crushed last week. So we're going to sit Jack Doyle, and I think Eric Ebron's going to be able to hop in that end zone and get that work this game with Mr. Jacoby B, and the Colts put up a decent amount of points to make him a start-worthy guy. The final game, Monday Night Football, Browns at the San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy Guap going up against Baker Mayfield. I'm going to be starting George Kittle in this matchup. I know George Kittle has not pre-formed, but you drafted him highly. I think eventually he's going to have that great turnaround that we have foreseen. We saw in draft season. We saw he would be good. He is going to be good. Now, I know he has been being used more in the blocking role and not going out every single time for a pass, but I do think that'll change. I think that the 49ers will allow enough points to the tight end that George Kittle will be fine. And we're going to be sitting down Mr. Ricky Seals-Jones. I think that Ricky Seals-Jones is a guy that may eventually become a start with David Njoku out, but this week against the Browns, I'm not willing to pull the trigger yet. Or against the 49ers, I'm not willing to pull the trigger yet on Mr. RSJ. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If at any point you enjoyed, if at any point you chuckled, if at any point you had a great goddamn day, knock on the goddamn subscribe button. Click that subscribe button. Click on one of the videos that's on your screen right now. Check out overlaydfs.com. Link down in the description. App. Way to download the app. Also down below in the description. Have a great goddamn day. I love you all. Good boy.